Before we begin, I want to take a moment to say Happy New Year. As we step into 2026, I'm sending my best wishes to you and your family for an incredible year ahead. May it bring you health, happiness, and everything your heart desires. Now, let me tell you a story about power that came from the most unexpected place. Ruthless Italian Mafia boss hired a black female bodyguard. She took down 50-plus assassins in one night. They laughed when she walked into the Falcone villa. A black woman in combat boots standing before the most powerful Don in Sicily. One capo spat Barolo wine on the marble floor near her feet. Another whispered in Italian about desperation reaching shameful new lows. She heard every word. She understood every insult. She filed every face away for later. Her name was Nia Wolfe. And wolves don't ask permission to hunt. When Don Giovanni Falcone demanded her credentials, she slid a single photograph across the centuries-old oak table. It showed a compound in Tripoli reduced to ash. Flames still consuming concrete. Bodies scattered like discarded chess pieces. Fortified Libyan black site. 47 guards. I walked out alone. They didn't. My resume is written in body counts governments deny. My credentials are classified by agencies that pretend I never existed. You don't hire me because you trust me. You hire me because I'm the last door before your coffin closes. 24 hours later, 53 professional killers would lie broken across the Mediterranean villa grounds. Mossad contractors. Russian Spetsnaz. Former Delta Force operators. All sent to claim the largest bounty in European criminal history. By sunrise, every single one would be neutralized by the woman they had mocked. If you believe extraordinary power comes from unexpected places, hit subscribe right now. Only people who judge strength by appearance would scroll past this story. Don Giovanni Falcone had built his empire through blood and brilliance. From the violent streets of Palermo where poverty killed more men than bullets, to the glass towers of Manhattan where power was traded like currency, his name commanded fear and respect across 3 continents. The Falcone family controlled everything that mattered in the shadows. Mediterranean shipping lanes that moved everything from legitimate cargo to things governments pretended didn't exist. Brooklyn construction unions that built half of New York while burying the other half's secrets. Vegas casino operations that laundered money so clean it could have been baptized. Swiss banking channels that made billions disappear and reappear like magic tricks performed by men in $1,000 suits. For 25 years, he had outmaneuvered the 5 families when they came for his territory. He had corrupted federal judges who now owed him favors they could never repay. He had eliminated threats with surgical precision, making examples that kept other ambitious men in check. Giovanni Falcone was the falcon his name promised, sharp-eyed, patient, striking only when victory was certain. But now, at 52 years old, the falcon had become prey. It began with whispers in rooms he wasn't invited to anymore. The Greco family from Naples meeting secretly with Russian bratva in warehouses that used to be his. The Calabrian 'Ndrangheta pulling back from joint operations without explanation, leaving him exposed in territories he thought were secure. Former allies whose phones suddenly went to voicemail when he called, whose assistants claimed they were traveling when Giovanni knew they were 3 blocks away. Then the whispers became actions, and the actions became war. A car bomb killed his driver on a Tuesday morning. Giovanni had stopped to take his daughter's phone call, something he never did during transit, a break in routine that saved his life by exactly 8 seconds. The explosion turned his armored Mercedes into a fireball that news helicopters captured for the evening broadcast. His driver, a man who had 3 children and drove Giovanni for 7 years, was identified by dental records. A sniper's bullet shattered his office window during a rare public appearance at one of his legitimate hotels in Rome. Giovanni had been standing at the podium talking about community investment and job creation, the kind of performance he gave to maintain his respectable businessman facade. The bullet missed his head by 2 inches because he bent down to pick up a dropped note. It hit the mahogany podium instead, embedding itself in wood that had cost more than most people earned in a year. The sniper was never found. The security footage mysteriously corrupted. The investigation went nowhere. Ryson in his morning espresso sent 3 taste testers to agonizing deaths over the course of 18 hours. Giovanni watched his food taster, a cousin's son who needed work, die in a hospital bed with his organs systematically failing. The young man was 24 years old. He had just gotten engaged. He died because he sipped Giovanni's coffee first, doing the job he was paid to do. The other 2 tasters died the same way. Slow. Painful. Inevitable. Someone wanted Don Giovanni Falcone dead. Someone with resources. Someone with patience. Someone with inside information about his routines, his security protocols, his vulnerabilities. And they weren't working alone. The final message came wrapped in the most traditional method possible. Benedetto Costa, Giovanni's head of security for 20 years, was found floating in the Tyrrhenian Sea with concrete shoes tied to his ankles. Benny had protected Giovanni through 2 assassination attempts, 4 family wars, and countless smaller conflicts. He was loyal to the point of stupidity, refusing promotions that would have taken him away from Giovanni's side. He was family in every way that mattered, blood be damned. But before they drowned him, before they threw him into the sea to sink like garbage, someone carved a message into his chest with a knife. The coroner's report said the cuts were made while Benny was still alive. Luna piena. Il tuo ultimo. Full moon. Your last. Giovanni looked at the calendar with hands that had strangled men without shaking, hands that now trembled slightly as he counted the days. The full moon was exactly 5 days away. 5 days to find a protector in a world where everyone seemed to be placing bets on when he would die. 5 days before the most powerful criminal organizations in Europe would send their best killers to claim the $30 million bounty that someone had placed on his head. The largest contract in European underworld history. $30 million for the head of Giovanni Falcone, deliverable by the light of the full moon. Desperation makes even the most powerful men do things their pride would normally forbid. It made Giovanni Falcone, a man whose family had ruled Sicily for 2 centuries, a man steeped in tradition and old-world prejudices about proper order and natural hierarchy, consider something his father would have called insanity. It made him listen when his sister Sophia called with 4 words he never expected to hear. I found someone impossible. Nia Wolfe wasn't looking for work that day. She was looking for something that had eluded her for 3 years, something that seemed to drift further away the harder she chased it. Peace. The kind of peace that let you sleep through the night without waking up at 3 a.m. with your hand reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The kind of peace that let you walk through crowds without cataloging exits and threat assessments. The kind of peace that normal people took for granted because they had never been turned into a weapon by their own government. Rome was supposed to be that peace. Anonymous. Beautiful. Far enough from her past that the nightmares might fade into something manageable. The CIA was still looking for her across North Africa and the Middle East, hunting the asset who refused an order and then vanished like smoke. They would never think to look for her in Italy, sipping espresso at cafes and pretending to be just another American tourist overstaying her visa. But peace required money, and money required work, and work for someone with her particular skills always led back to the same place. Violence. Just different employers with different justifications for why people needed to die or be protected or be intimidated into compliance. She had taken jobs that kept her rent paid and her identity buried. Nightclub security for Russian oligarchs who liked to party in Rome while their government hunted them. Executive protection for Saudi princes who needed American muscle they could trust not to report back to Riyadh. Underground fight clubs in Budapest when money got really tight, where she could earn €2,000 in one night by breaking bones and not asking questions. Nia kept to herself. Spoke little. Moved apartments every few months. Used cash for everything. Avoided cameras. Trusted no one. She tried desperately to forget the woman she had been, the weapon the Special Activities Division had spent 3 years creating, the killer who had operated in 13 countries under 7 different names. But on a Tuesday afternoon at a gelateria near the Trevi Fountain, destiny found her anyway. She was buying strawberry gelato, one of the small pleasures she allowed herself, when the attack erupted. For Serbian mercenaries based on their tactical movements and the Cyrillic tattoos visible on their forearms. Armed with concealed handguns. Professional-grade weapons, not street trash. Their target was a 12-year-old British girl eating pistachio gelato with her nanny, the daughter of a diplomat who had made enemies in the wrong places. They didn't see Nia as a threat. Just another American tourist in jeans and a leather jacket, carrying a small backpack, probably on her way to take selfies at the fountain. Another witness to control. Another civilian to terrify into compliance. Wrong assumption. Fatal mistake. 18 seconds. That's all it took. The first attacker's wrist shattered when he reached for the girl. Nia moved before he completed the motion, before his hand touched the child's shoulder. The snap of breaking bone echoed off ancient Roman walls loud enough that pigeons scattered from nearby ledges. His gun clattered to cobblestones. The second lost consciousness from a strike to the vagus nerve cluster on the side of his neck. A precision hit that security cameras would later struggle to capture clearly because Nia's hand moved faster than the frame rate. He dropped like someone cut his strings, unconscious before his knees hit the ground. The third tried to run, some survival instinct overriding his training. He made it 4 steps before Nia took him down with a technique they taught in Special Activities Division but never wrote in any manual. His arm hyperextended behind him with a sound like celery snapping. Her knee pressed between his shoulder blades, pinning him to the cobblestones while tourists screamed and scattered. The fourth actually managed to draw his weapon, his training overcoming his shock at watching 3 colleagues neutralized in under 15 seconds. He got the gun up. Got his finger on the trigger. Got one shot off that went wide and shattered a gelato shop window. Then Nia was inside his reach, her movements a blur of controlled violence that looked almost like a dance if you didn't understand you were watching someone dismantle a human being's ability to function. Disarm. Strike. Control. He joined his colleagues on the ground, unconscious, bleeding, defeated. 18 seconds from first contact to threat neutralized. For armed mercenaries trained in at least basic combat protocols. One unarmed woman who moved like violence was a language she spoke fluently. The British girl was safe. The nanny was hyperventilating. Tourists were filming on phones. Carabinieri sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Nia disappeared into the crowd before the first police car arrived, melting into the mass of tourists with a practiced ease that came from years of needing to vanish. Just another face in the eternal crowd around the Trevi Fountain. Nobody special. Nobody dangerous. Nobody to remember. But across the piazza, in a black Maserati with tinted windows, someone had been watching through binoculars. Someone who saw the entire encounter. Someone who recognized skills that shouldn't exist in a random tourist. Sofia Falcone pulled out an encrypted phone and called her brother. Fratello, she said quietly, her eyes still tracking Nia's path through the crowd, we found someone. Someone impossible. On the other end of the line, Don Giovanni Falcone listened to his sister describe what she had just witnessed. Then he made a decision that would either save his life or confirm every doubt his family had about his judgment. Bring her to me. The Falcone compound sat on 50 acres overlooking the Mediterranean, a statement of power that had stood for 200 years. The villa itself was 18th century architecture restored with 21st century security. 20-foot stone walls topped with sensors that could detect a cat walking along the perimeter. Armed guards patrolling through olive groves that had been in the family since before Italy was unified. Bulletproof glass and windows that had witnessed 3 centuries of family history, of births and deaths and wars and marriages and betrayals. The architecture spoke a language that needed no translation. This was power that didn't need to announce itself. Old money. Old blood. Old wars survived and enemies buried in unmarked graves. When Nia Wolfe arrived at the Iron Gates 3 hours after Sophia tracked her down to a small apartment in Trastevere, she was wearing the same combat boots, black tactical pants, and leather jacket that concealed scars running up both forearms. Scars that told stories she had no interest in sharing. Scars from operations that officially never happened in countries where America officially never operated. The guards at the gate smirked when they saw her. One, a thick-necked enforcer with hands that had clearly broken things for money, muttered something in Sicilian dialect about the Don finally losing his mind. Another laughed and made a crude suggestion in Italian about what her real purpose must be, because surely she wasn't actually being hired for security. Nia understood every word. Her maternal grandmother had been Sicilian, married to an American soldier after World War II. And Nia had grown up hearing the dialect at Sunday dinners while her grandmother made pasta and told stories about the old country. She spoke fluent Italian and understood Sicilian variations well enough to catch every nuance of disrespect. She said nothing. Just filed their faces away in the catalog she maintained of people who would learn expensive lessons later. The guard on the left with the scar through his eyebrow who spat near her boots. The one on the right who laughed the loudest. Both of them marked for future reference. The interview room was pure intimidation dressed in historical significance. Vaulted ceilings with Renaissance frescoes painted by artists dead for 400 years. A table carved from a single piece of oak that had hosted Falcone family councils since 1847, that had seen decisions made that toppled governments and started wars and ended bloodlines. Oil paintings on the walls worth millions, stolen during World War II and never returned, depicting scenes of classical mythology that seemed to judge everyone who entered. Don Giovanni Falcone sat at the head of the table, surrounded by 4 capos who represented different branches of his operation. All men. All armed. All skeptical that this woman standing before them could be anything except a waste of their time or an insult to their intelligence. Giovanni was smaller than Nia expected. Maybe 5'8", but he filled the room with a presence that made physical height irrelevant. Salt and pepper hair cut close. Designer suit that probably cost more than most people's cars, tailored to perfection. Eyes that had ordered deaths and slept fine afterward, that had watched men beg for mercy and felt nothing except the cold satisfaction of power exercised. Marco Benedetti, Giovanni's cousin and underboss, sat to his right. Marco was the family pit bull, the one they sent when someone needed to understand consequences in simple terms. His hostility was immediate and unconcealed, his body language screaming that this was already a waste of time. Father Pietro Falcone, Giovanni's uncle and the family consigliere, sat quietly observing. His face was unreadable, a mask perfected over 70 years of keeping secrets and offering counsel to men who ruled through violence. Luca Greco, called the butcher though never to his face, sat studying Nia with the professional interest of someone who understood exactly what kind of damage a human body could sustain. He ran enforcement. He knew violence in all its forms. The 4th capo, Sal Rizzuto, controlled their political connections. He looked bored, like this was an interruption to more important business. Giovanni's questions came blunt and designed to insult, to provoke, to test. You're American. Why are you in Italy? Nia's response was equally blunt, no deference, no apology, just fact delivered with the confidence of someone who knew her own value. Because CIA black sites are still hunting me across North Africa and the Middle East. Italy is the last place they'd expect a ghost to hide. Your immigration officials are easier to bribe than most, and Rome has enough Americans that one more doesn't stand out. You're a woman. How can you protect me from Spetsnaz operators, Mossad contractors, and Delta Force mercenaries? Gender becomes irrelevant when you're unconscious from a collapsed trachea. Ask the last 15 men who underestimated me. 3 are dead. 12 are still in physical therapy learning to eat solid food again. Choose your assumptions carefully, Don Falcone. Marco slammed his hand on the ancient oak table. This is insane, Giovanni. An outsider? An American? A woman? How do we know she isn't working for our enemies? This could be a setup. Giovanni's response was ice cold, his voice dropping to the quiet register that everyone in the family knew meant danger. Because our enemies would send someone I'm supposed to trust. Someone like family. Someone sitting at this table who's lived beyond his means for 2 years and thinks I haven't noticed. The implication landed like a grenade in the room. Marco's face went white. The other capos shifted uncomfortably. Giovanni suspected everyone now. Even blood. Especially blood. Giovanni's final question revealed just how desperate he had become, how far the mighty had fallen when death was counting down in days. Why should I trust you with my life? Nia's eyes met his, and Giovanni saw something familiar reflected back. Another person broken by the things they'd done in service of causes that abandoned them. Another weapon discarded when it stopped following orders. You shouldn't. Trust is what got you here, Don Falcone. Trusting the wrong people. Believing loyalty could be bought and would stay bought. I'm not offering trust. I'm offering survival. The only question is whether you want to live badly enough to accept help from someone your pride says you should reject. Silence filled the room. Outside, Mediterranean waves crashed against rocks. Somewhere in the compound, a dog barked. The Renaissance figures in the paintings seemed to lean forward, waiting for the answer. Giovanni studied this woman who stood in his family's seat of power and showed no fear, no deference, just calm professional assessment of a problem she thought she could solve. He saw a weapon looking for a worthy target. He saw himself, 15 years ago, when he still believed in something beyond survival. You're hired. 5 days until the full moon. Can you prepare in that time? Nia Wolfe allowed herself the smallest smile, the kind a predator gives when prey asks if it should be afraid. Don Falcone, for me, 5 days is more than I need. For your enemies, it won't be nearly enough. The first family strategy meeting was exactly as hostile as Nia expected. Marco openly challenged Giovanni's decision in front of the entire inner circle, his voice rising with each word until he was almost shouting. You've lost your mind, cousin. Bringing in an outsider, an American, a woman. We look weak. We look desperate. Giovanni's response cut through the noise like a knife through silk. Our enemies wouldn't send someone so obvious. They'd send someone I trust. Someone sitting at this table who should be more concerned with protecting this family than undermining my decisions. The room went silent. Everyone understood the implication. Nobody was above suspicion anymore. After the meeting, Sophia cornered Nia in the hallway. Unlike Marco's bluster, Sophia's hostility was sharp and controlled, delivered in perfect English with barely suppressed rage. My brother is desperate, not stupid. One mistake, one sign you're not what you claim, and I will kill you myself. Nia looked at her calmly, no threat, no defensiveness, just professional assessment. Smart. You should be protecting him with that loyalty instead of wasting it on threats against his new bodyguard. I am protecting him. No. You're threatening me instead of watching for real threats. Amateur move for someone who claims to care about his safety. Sophia's face flushed. Her hand moved toward the knife Nia had spotted hidden at her waist 3 seconds after entering the hallway. But something in Nia's eyes stopped her. Not fear. Not aggression. Just the empty patience of someone who had faced worse threats before breakfast most days of her previous life and survived them all. Sophia backed down first because she had to. There was something in Nia's stillness that promised violence on a level the younger woman had never encountered. Just remember, Sophia muttered as she walked away, composure cracking for just a moment before reforming. Family protects family. You're just an employee. Nia allowed herself a small bitter smile after Sophia disappeared around the corner. Family betrays family too. History is full of examples. For the first 48 hours, Nia didn't sleep. She memorized every entrance, every exit, every blind spot, every vulnerability in the compound. She studied the guard rotations and identified who was diligent, who was lazy, who was too comfortable. She inspected Giovanni's food before each meal. Tested his wine with strips that detected common poisons. Swept his rooms for surveillance devices every 6 hours using equipment she requested from suppliers who didn't ask questions. She installed pressure plates beneath strategic floorboards in hallways where attackers would likely move. Mapped optimal defensive positions throughout the villa. Identified choke points where superior numbers could be neutralized by superior positioning. Giovanni watched her work with growing unease. She was methodical. Emotionless. Exhaustive in her preparation. Like a machine programmed for a single purpose, operating with efficiency that seemed almost inhuman. On the second evening, he found her in the wine cellar installing what looked like some kind of sensor system. "You need to rest," he told her, genuinely concerned despite himself. "You've been working for 40 hours straight." Nia didn't look up from her work. "Sleep is a luxury for people with futures." "What does that mean?" She paused, finally meeting his eyes with a gaze that had seen too much and held too many ghosts. "It means I sleep when the job is done, not before." "And what happens after the job?" Her laugh was hollow, empty of anything resembling humor. "There is no after. There's just the next job, the next fight, the next day of trying to outrun what I've done." It was the most personal thing she had said since arriving. Giovanni recognized trauma when he saw it. He had caused enough of it himself to know the signs. Whatever the CIA had done to her, whatever operations she had run in those 13 countries under 7 different names, it had broken something fundamental that might never heal. He didn't press further. Some wounds needed silence more than questions. On the third day, Nia Stone showed exactly why Giovanni had been right to hire her, why his desperation had led him to the only person who could save him. The attack came during a meeting with the heads of Giovanni's legitimate businesses. Hotel executives. Construction company presidents. Import-export managers. Men who ran the public face of Falcone operations while the family ran everything else in the shadows. They were gathered in the conference room discussing quarterly earnings and expansion plans, the kind of boring legitimate business that Giovanni maintained as cover. 3 of Giovanni's own security personnel suddenly drew weapons. Men who had protected him for 5 years. Men whose families were on the payroll. Men who had been vetted and trusted and given access to everything. Their target wasn't just Giovanni. It was everyone in the room. A complete decapitation of Falcone leadership, legitimate and otherwise. Kill them all. Leave no witnesses. Make it look like a rival family's work. Nia moved before the first gun cleared its holster. A crystal paperweight from Giovanni's desk became a projectile that shattered the first attacker's wrist with surgical precision. His gun fell uselessly to the marble floor. Her body followed the throw, a blur of controlled violence that operated on instincts drilled into muscle memory through years of training most people couldn't survive. 9 seconds. That's how long it took to neutralize all 3 attackers. The first traitor's wrist was already broken, his weapon secured. The second found his larynx crushed by a strike that was precise enough to incapacitate without killing, a level of control that required years to master. The third managed to fire one shot that grazed a business executive's arm before Nia slammed his head into the marble conference table with enough force to crack both skull and stone. 3 attackers neutralized. 0 fatalities. Minimal blood. The legitimate business partners sat frozen, drinks halfway to lips, eyes wide with shock. They had just witnessed something most people only saw in movies, except this was real and terrifying in its brutal efficiency. No dramatic flips. No impossible acrobatics. Just the economical application of violence by someone who understood exactly how much force was needed to end a threat without wasting motion. Giovanni calmly straightened his tie as Nia zip-tied the unconscious would-be assassins. Meeting adjourned. We'll reschedule for next quarter. The executives fled. Some would quit. Others would need therapy. All would remember what they saw. After the room cleared, Giovanni turned to Nia. You could have killed them. She was checking the unconscious men for hidden weapons, her movements clinical. Death is final. Information is valuable. They'll tell us who sent them, who paid them, who else inside this compound is waiting to betray you. And if they don't talk? Nia's expression darkened with a shadow that made Giovanni realize exactly what the CIA had trained her to do in those black sites that didn't exist. Everyone talks eventually. I was trained to make sure of it. For the first time since hiring her, Giovanni felt a chill that had nothing to do with the assassination attempt. Whatever demons drove Nia Wolfe, they were older and darker than his own. The CIA hadn't just trained her to kill. They had trained her to break people in ways that left no visible marks but destroyed them from the inside out. That night, Giovanni called an emergency meeting of his remaining inner circle, now reduced to people who hadn't tried to kill him yet. His sister Sophia. His cousin Marco. 3 lieutenants who had passed Nia's background checks. The mood was somber. The betrayal had come from within, from men they had trusted with their lives. Giovanni's voice was cold authority. No one leaves the compound until the full moon. No communications with the outside world. No exceptions. Marco slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. We're trapping ourselves. Nia spoke from her position by the door, her voice quiet but carrying absolute certainty. Better trapped with known enemies than opening doors for unknown ones. Giovanni nodded. Miss Wolfe will implement complete lockdown protocols. Anyone attempting to breach security from inside or outside will be considered hostile. Sophia asked the question they were all thinking. And if there are more traitors among us? If someone in this room is waiting to put a knife in your back? Giovanni's smile was colder than winter in Siberia. Then we'll discover very quickly who deserves to be part of this family's future. If you think loyalty is earned through actions, not words, comment respect below. Only fake friends would disagree with that truth. The interrogation of the captured traitors revealed exactly what Nia had suspected and what Giovanni feared. The attack on the full moon would be coordinated across multiple rival organizations, all working together despite decades of rivalry and territorial disputes. The 'Ndrangheta from Calabria. The Greco family from Naples. Russian Bratva specialists. Israeli contractors. Even rumors of Phantom Protocol involvement, the shadow organization within American intelligence that operated without oversight or accountability. All united by a single purpose and a $30 million bounty. Eliminate Giovanni Falcone. Divide his territory. End the Falcone family's 200-year reign. More disturbing was the confirmation that someone in Giovanni's inner circle had orchestrated everything. The traitors knew a name but refused to reveal it even after hours of questioning. They were more afraid of that person than anything Nia or Giovanni could do to them. They're more terrified of whoever betrayed you than they are of us, Nia observed, washing blood from her hands after the 4th hour. That tells us something important. Giovanni leaned against the wall outside the makeshift interrogation room, his face ashen. What does it tell us? That whoever turned commands fear beyond what you can inflict. That means power, resources, and influence that rivals or exceeds your own. That means family, Don Falcone. Someone close enough to know everything and powerful enough to command absolute loyalty even under extreme duress. Giovanni whispered the word like a prayer or a curse. Family. Nia nodded once. Most likely. During a routine sweep, Nia found a hidden room behind a false wall in the east wing. Inside was a sophisticated surveillance hub that made her blood run cold. Multiple monitors showing every corner of the compound. Recordings going back 8 months. Detailed psychological profiles on every member of Giovanni's inner circle. Leverage files containing blackmail material, bribery records, and pressure points mapped with clinical precision. The equipment was military grade. Satellite routing that bounced signals across continents to avoid detection. This wasn't criminal intelligence. This was government-level surveillance. This is CIA or FBI-grade equipment, Nia said quietly. Someone with serious government connections has been watching you for months. Planning this. They've turned someone close to you. Someone who genuinely believes betraying you is patriotic duty or moral necessity. Giovanni went pale. My own country's intelligence agencies. Or mine. Phantom Protocol operates without official sanction. Black operations within black operations. They do things even the CIA won't admit to. That night, over wine and silence, Giovanni told Nia about his rise to power. Growing up in Palermo slums where poverty killed more efficiently than violence. Watching his father beaten to death by loan sharks when Giovanni was 12 years old. Building his empire piece by bloody piece, brick by broken bone, until the name Falcone meant something in a world that had tried to erase him. I never trusted anyone except family, he confessed, alcohol loosening his tongue. And now I can't even trust them. Nia's response was quiet but certain. Family is just biology. Loyalty is choice. Is that what you learned in the military? Her eyes hardened, looking at something far away that only she could see. I learned that loyalty to institutions is a fairy tale they tell you to make the nightmares easier to bear. What nightmares? Her smile was razor thin. The ones where you see the faces of everyone you've killed because someone with stars on their shoulder decided they needed to die. Giovanni studied her. How many faces? Nia looked away. Too many faces. Not enough stars to justify them. In that moment, Giovanni understood something fundamental about the woman he had hired. She wasn't just skilled. She was broken in exactly the right places to make her the perfect protector. Her rage wasn't hot and impulsive like his own. It was cold, controlled, and constantly searching for a target worthy of its release. He had given her 53 assassins to focus that rage upon. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. While conducting night searches of the inner circle's private quarters, Nia discovered troubling evidence. Marco's rooms revealed a lifestyle far beyond his legitimate income. Watches worth $200,000. Receipts for gambling debts recently paid in full. Where had that money come from? His salary didn't cover it. His legitimate businesses barely broke even. Sophia's hidden compartment contained burner phones with encrypted communication apps. A government-issue Glock 19 that shouldn't exist in civilian hands. Personal journals filled with philosophical debates about duty versus family, justice versus loyalty, moral obligation versus blood ties. A photograph hidden in a book showed Sophia in FBI Academy graduation gown, arm in arm with a man wearing a bureau windbreaker. Dante Esposito's room, the family consigliere, was almost completely empty. No personal items. No photographs. No trace of personality. Just functional furniture and clothing. The room of a ghost. The kind of emptiness that hid everything because there was nothing real to find. The next morning, Sophia cornered Nia after noticing her door had been opened during the night. You went through my things. Nia didn't deny it. I'm protecting your brother. That means understanding everyone around him. You found the photograph. And the burner phones. And the government weapon. Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. Be very careful, Miss Wolfe. Some doors once opened cannot be closed. Some truths once revealed destroy everything. Truths don't destroy. Lies do. I'm just figuring out what you've been telling. Sophia walked away, her composure cracking for just a moment before reforming like armor snapping back into place. Day 4 brought complete lockdown. No one entered or left the compound. All external communications were severed. Food and supply deliveries stopped. Staff were given a choice. Stay and risk death, or leave with generous severance and Giovanni's blessing. 60% stayed. 40% left. Those who remained stood taller. Their loyalty was now a choice rather than an obligation, and choice made it real. Nia transformed the compound into a tactical nightmare for anyone attempting assault. Pressure plates beneath selected floorboards connected to non-lethal deterrence systems. Tripwires linked to flashbangs and smoke grenades. Electrical stun grids and key choke points delivering 50,000 volts of incapacitation. Kill zones created in areas that appeared vulnerable but were actually designed to funnel attackers into ambush points where numbers became disadvantage. When Marco questioned why she requisitioned no firearms, her answer was simple and chilling. Guns make noise. Noise draws attention. Attention gets people killed. I work better in silence. Instead, she gathered tactical knives for close quarters work. Stun batons for non-lethal control. Hundreds of zip ties. Medical-grade sedatives. Night vision equipment. Communication jammers. Smoke grenades. Flashbangs. The tools of someone who understood that the best victories left enemies alive to provide intelligence. During the final strategy session, she outlined her approach with clinical detachment. They'll come from multiple entry points. They've studied standard security protocols, so those are useless. We've created new vulnerabilities. Fake ones. Areas that appear unguarded but are actually killing zones designed to funnel them into positions where I control every variable. Marco interrupted. You keep saying incapacitate. These people are coming to murder us. Why aren't we killing them? Nia locked eyes with him. Because dead bodies tell no stories. Captured assassins tell us everything. Who sent them? Who paid them? Who inside this compound helped them? 50 prisoners give us 50 chances to expose the full network. 50 corpses give us nothing but graves to dig. This is insane. You're going to get us all killed. If anyone dies tonight, it won't be because of my strategy. It will be because someone in this room wants them dead. The implication silenced everyone. The inner circle gathered in Giovanni's fortified office. Reinforced concrete walls. Bulletproof glass. A single entrance that Nia had rigged with enough countermeasures to stop a small army. An escape tunnel beneath the antique bookcase with a code only they knew. 7249. Nia's final instructions were simple and absolute. No one leaves this room. No matter what you hear. Gunshots. Explosions. Screaming. You stay here. Anyone who tries to leave will be considered hostile. Giovanni asked the question they all feared. And if you don't come back? Use the tunnel beneath the bookcase. Code is 7249. Don't fight. Don't try to be heroes. Just run. Before anyone could respond, she was gone, the door closing behind her with the finality of a coffin lid. If you believe the most dangerous person is often the quietest one, the one everyone underestimates, double tap that like button right now. Only fools ignore silent strength. 10:17 p.m. brought first contact. Perimeter sensors triggered along the eastern wall. Night vision revealed 3 figures scaling the 20-foot barrier with professional precision. Military movements. Coordinated hand signals. They were good. But they hadn't anticipated the electrified wire mesh hidden in the ivy. 50,000 volts of non-lethal incapacitation dropped all 3 instantly. Nia emerged from shadows like smoke taking form. Zip ties applied with practiced efficiency. Sedatives administered. Bodies dragged to a holding area in the wine cellar. 3 down. 50 more to go. 10:34 p.m. Northern Gardens. A 6-man team approaching through the ancient olive groves. Pressure sensors tracked every footstep. Nia intercepted at the stone bridge, a natural choke point where numbers became irrelevant. The first 2 went down before they knew she was there. Precision strikes to nerve clusters. Instant unconsciousness. The third and fourth drew weapons, but Nia used the third as a human shield. His colleague's bullet hit Kevlar vest instead of flesh. In the confusion, both joined the others on the ground. The fifth and sixth split up, thinking they were being tactical. Wrong. Isolated targets are easier targets. 9 down. 44 remaining. 10:52 p.m. Western perimeter. A sniper team positioned on adjacent rooftops providing cover fire for an 8-man entry team. Nia had anticipated this exact scenario during her preparation. She flanked the sniper position via a route she had scouted 3 days earlier. First sniper neutralized with a sleeper hold. 15 seconds to unconsciousness. The second turned just in time to see her but not in time to stop her. Without sniper cover, the entry team hesitated. Fatal mistake. Nia moved through them like a shadow with purpose. Strike. Move. Strike. Move. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Just the mechanical efficiency of a weapon doing exactly what it was designed to do. 19 down. 34 remaining. 11:23 p.m. brought the professionals. Second wave operators moving with synchronized precision. Hand signals. Room clearing techniques. Military-grade coordination. These weren't criminals. These were trained soldiers. Nia recognized the movement patterns immediately. Phantom Protocol protocols. American Black Ops. Her former unit. Cold rage filled her veins, but she pushed it down because rage made people sloppy and she needed to be perfect. A 5-man team breached the north entrance. They cleared rooms by the book. The book Nia had helped write during her time in Special Activities Division. She knew every technique, every counter, every weakness in their approach because she had been there when they developed it. She dismantled them methodically. First operator dropped from a nerve strike behind the ear, unconscious before he hit the floor. Second went down from a joint lock that hyperextended his elbow followed by a chokehold. Third and fourth reacted faster, weapons up, firing, but she had already moved. She used the environment as weapon and shield. Tables. Chairs. Shadows. 24 down. 29 remaining. 11:47 p.m. Multiple entry points. Coordinated overwhelming assault. 10 operators from the south, 8 from the east. Shaped charge explosives blew through the main gate. This was the main force, the heavy hitters who had waited for the first waves to probe defenses and identify weaknesses. Nia's traps devastated them. Tripwires triggered flashbangs that destroyed night vision and disoriented even professional operators. Pressure plates activated electrical stun systems. Smoke grenades deployed via remote control turned the main hall into zero visibility chaos. But they kept coming because $30 million bought a lot of motivation. The main hall became a battlefield where Nia demonstrated the difference between good and perfect. She used their numbers against them in the tight quarters where they couldn't all engage simultaneously. She flowed through them like water through rocks, always moving, never where they expected. 38 down. 15 remaining. 12:15 a.m. brought the elite. 8 operators who had hung back, watching, learning from their colleagues' mistakes. The best of the best. A Japanese kenjutsu master from the Yakuza, katana glinting in moonlight. A Hong Kong Wing Chun expert from the Triads, hands moving faster than thought. A Russian Systema enforcer from the Bratva, built like a tank and just as destructive. A Vietnamese assassin who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. A Thai Mui Baran specialist whose ancient killing art had been perfected over centuries. 3 Phantom Protocol operatives who represented the most dangerous threat because they knew her training. The central courtyard. Moonlight casting silver shadows across ancient stone. The Japanese master attacked first, his katana a blur of polished steel seeking flesh. Nia dodged, redirected, used his momentum to send him crashing into a stone pillar. Disarmed him with a wrist lock that broke bone with an audible snap. 39 down. The Hong Kong expert engaged immediately. Fast hands delivering precision strikes to pressure points. Nia matched him blow for blow, then exceeded him. Elbow to solar plexus. Knee to thigh. Palm strike to temple. 40 down. The Russian enforcer charged, trying to use size and strength. Wrong approach. Nia didn't fight power with power. She redirected, used leverage and physics. A perfectly executed hip throw slammed him into cobblestones hard enough to crack both skull and stone. 41 down. The Vietnamese assassin deployed smoke bombs and misdirection, becoming almost invisible. But Nia's training was better. She sensed movement, trusted instinct built through years of operations where mistakes meant death. A perfectly timed counter caught him mid-strike. 42 down. The Thai specialist tried poison-tipped strikes from concealed weapons. Nia had spotted them during the initial observation. She closed distance before he could deploy, neutralizing him with a combination that ended at his carotid artery with precisely calibrated pressure. Sleep, not death. 43 down. 3 Phantom Protocol operatives remained. They circled her like wolves. They knew her training because they shared it. This was the real fight. Equals facing off with intimate knowledge of each other's capabilities. They attacked in perfect coordination, rehearsed patterns honed through countless operations together. Team tactics designed to overwhelm individual skill. Nia defended, countered, created openings where none should exist. The first operative went down when she broke his rhythm with an unexpected strike pattern she had developed after leaving the program. Fractured collarbone. 44 down. The second used her brief engagement with his partner to close distance. They grappled. She was smaller but better. A reversal put him in a chokehold that stole consciousness in seconds. 45 down. The third operative removed his night vision goggles. Commander Silas Vance. Her former handler. The man who had given the order she refused. The man who had turned her into a weapon and then tried to discard her when she developed a conscience. Black Wolf. I knew you'd still be alive. Cockroaches always survive. You should have stayed in the shadows, Commander. Now I have to bury you. Their fight was different. Personal. 2 apex predators who knew each other's every move, every tell, every weakness. Vance was good. Maybe the best Nia had ever faced. But Nia had an advantage he didn't. Nothing left to lose. She took hits she shouldn't take. Pushed through pain that should have stopped her. Found the opening she needed. Strike to the throat. Knee to the liver. Final elbow that ended it. 46 down. 7 remaining. Inside the fortified office, the sounds of combat had faded to unsettling silence. The tension was unbearable. Marco paced despite his earlier shoulder wound. The lieutenants whispered among themselves. Sophia stood beside Giovanni, her hand on his shoulder in a gesture that spoke of complicated history. Giovanni, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. Before she could speak, the door exploded inward. Through the smoke came 4 final operatives. Not here to kill Giovanni. Here to eliminate all witnesses. The lead operative spoke into his communication device. Primary target located. Eliminating witnesses. Marco fired wildly, panic overriding training. Missed everything. The lead operative put a round through Marco's other shoulder without even looking, the kind of casual violence that spoke of absolute confidence. Everyone on the floor. Now. The lieutenants complied immediately. Marco writhed in pain. Sophia remained standing, positioning herself between the gunman and her brother. Stand down, Captain. This operation is no longer sanctioned. The lead operative paused. Agent Marchetti, we have our orders. Your orders are obsolete. Phantom Protocol deployment on Italian soil without FBI authorization violates 17 international agreements. Stand down or face federal charges. Giovanni's world shattered. Sophia, what are you? What is this? Before she could answer, the lights went out. Total darkness. The sound of bodies hitting the floor. Then a voice from the shadows. Nia's voice. They can't hear you, Captain. None of them can. I severed their communications 20 minutes ago. They've been operating blind since the East Wall breach. A lighter flicked on. Nia's face illuminated from below. Blood on her tactical gear. None of it hers. 4 final operatives unconscious at her feet. It's over. 50 down. Inside the office makes 53 total. 0 fatalities. Sophia's true identity came out in the aftermath. FBI Special Agent Sophia Marchetti. Undercover for 15 years, since before their father died. Recruited at the academy and assigned to deep cover monitoring Falcone family operations. When Giovanni started building his empire, her mission evolved. Guide him toward legitimate business. Steer him away from activities that threaten national security. Prevent violence where possible. I was never trying to destroy you, Fratello. I was trying to save you from yourself. Every time I pushed you toward legal investments, every time I argued against expansion into drug trafficking or human smuggling, that was me protecting you. Giovanni's voice was hollow. You've been lying to me for 20 years. I've been protecting you for 20 years. The lies were the price. The real traitor was Dante Esposito. Turned by Phantom Protocol years ago with promises of power, money, new identity, immunity. He provided everything. Compound layouts. Security schedules. Giovanni's routines. Psychological profiles. Security gaps. He was already in Nia's custody, captured during the chaos. She had identified him the first day. Empty room, no personal items. Classic deep cover indicators. She had been feeding him false information for 3 days. Phantom Protocol wanted Giovanni dead because his ledger could expose corruption across 14 countries. Politicians taking Mafia money. Intelligence officers running joint operations. Military leaders profiting from arms deals. Judges on the payroll. Exposing the ledger wouldn't just bring down criminals. It would bring down governments. Sophia's FBI faction wanted Giovanni alive. His information was too valuable. His testimony could dismantle decades of corruption. We can offer you a deal, Giovanni. Full immunity in exchange for complete cooperation. Your legitimate businesses continue. The ledger goes to Interpol with redactions protecting national security. No prosecution for past crimes if you help us dismantle Phantom Protocol. Commander Vance regained consciousness. Zip-tied. Beaten. Defiant. You think this changes anything, Black Wolf? Phantom Protocol is everywhere. We're in every government, every intelligence agency. Kill me and 10 more take my place. Nia leaned close. I'm not going to kill you, Commander. I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to expose you. Every black site. Every illegal operation. Every innocent person you've murdered in the name of national security. Your ledger is going to burn right alongside Giovanni's. Vance's confidence faltered. You can't. That information is classified. Buried. Protected. I helped bury it, Commander. I know where all the graves are. And I'm done keeping secrets for monsters. Dawn broke over the Mediterranean. The compound was a battlefield. Broken windows. Bullet holes in ancient stone. Unconscious bodies being collected by discreet FBI cleanup teams. 53 assassins captured. 0 fatalities. A night of violence that would become legend in certain circles. Giovanni sat in his destroyed office staring at the sister he thought he knew. How do I trust anything now? Sophia's response was pragmatic. You don't trust. You verify. I've arranged terms. Your legitimate businesses continue. Your ledger goes to Interpol with redactions. No prosecution for full cooperation against Phantom Protocol. And if I refuse? Sophia's eyes held tears she refused to let fall. Then I spent 15 years protecting a brother who doesn't want to be saved. And I'll have to arrest you myself. Long silence. Giovanni looked at this stranger wearing his sister's face. You really believe this is the right path? I believe it's the only path that doesn't end with both of us dead. Giovanni finally nodded. Not forgiveness. Not trust. But acceptance that survival sometimes required walking with uncertain allies. Nia stood on the villa rooftop watching sunrise paint the Mediterranean in gold. Giovanni found her there with 2 glasses and a bottle of expensive Barolo. Celebrating? Or commemorating? Commemorating the night I realized running doesn't work forever. She accepted the glass. Actually drank this time. What now? For you? Vance was right about one thing. Phantom Protocol is everywhere. And now they know I'm still alive. Still dangerous. So you run again? Something new entered her eyes. Not emptiness. Purpose. No. I'm done running. You have resources, connections, information. I have skills and a very long list of people who need to answer for what they've done. You're proposing we hunt the hunters? I'm proposing we burn their entire operation to the ground. Every black site. Every handler. Every politician who signed off on murder while pretending their hands were clean. Giovanni considered this woman who saved his life. This weapon finally finding a worthy target. That sounds like a war, Miss Wolfe. Her smile was razor thin. It's always been a war, Don Falcone. We just stopped pretending we're not soldiers. The sun rose over Sicily. A criminal empire stood at the edge of transformation. An FBI operation scrambled to contain fallout. 2 broken people, forged in different fires but tempered by the same pain, began to imagine a future that was more than just survival. 53 assassins neutralized. One night. One woman. But this was only the beginning. Commander Vance would face international tribunals. His testimony would expose Phantom Protocol operations across 12 countries. Dozens of black sites would be shuttered. Hundreds of illegal operatives brought to justice. Dante's cooperation revealed recruitment methods, safe houses, funding sources. He bought himself a reduced sentence and witness protection, disappearing into a new identity. Marco recovered with new respect for the woman he had underestimated. His gambling debts paid, his loyalty secured through gratitude rather than fear. The remaining lieutenants, cleared of suspicion, formed the backbone of Giovanni's transition to legitimate operations. Agent Sophia Marchetti worked to rebuild her relationship with Giovanni. Trust would take time. Understanding came faster. She had sacrificed 15 years of her real life to protect him. That counted for something. The Falcone family transformed. Shipping routes became legitimate supply chains. Construction companies operated within legal frameworks. Hotels transitioned from money laundering to actual hospitality. The change was challenging but possible. Nia Wolfe found something unexpected. A partner who understood the weight of necessary violence. A purpose beyond mere survival. A chance to use her skills for something larger than herself. Together they began planning. Phantom Protocol had cells in 14 countries. Each one would fall. Each handler would face justice. Each black site would be exposed. The war against shadows had begun. And this time, the shadows would lose. Thanks for sticking with me until the very end. I really appreciate you being here. Happy New Year to you, and best wishes for an absolutely amazing 2026. May this year bring you courage like Nia's, transformation like Giovanni's, and the kind of purpose that changes everything. If you enjoyed this story and it touched your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories of unlikely heroes rising against impossible odds, and comment below what part of this story hit you the hardest. I read every single comment and I love hearing from you. The war against Phantom Protocol continues in the next episode. I'll see you there. Take care.